Oh.
Hearing this? I'll say it again. Thanks for attending day three. Today we're actually going to be going over a couple of components. Um, One, what AI is and how to actually represent it, like present it in the vibe coding and it even in product itself. I think a lot of people are just saying I'm inserting AI, so I want to give you guys a little bit of input there. MVP, what that is, what that should look like generalized. This is actually a good gauge of kind of what you should be actually building by an expected timeline. And then the prompting itself. So I'm going to go over some prompting techniques. I'm then going to share some examples. And I'm also going to be sharing examples so you guys get context. I think it's important to see kind of that. And at the end, I'll leave time if anybody has started to vibe code anything, we can demo some of those things, get some feedback. I think it's important that we get feedback loops. So I will get to sharing because sharing is caring.
Ooh.
Yeah. Do you see my big
Big jam.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of tabs in this one, so this is a clean clean Chrome. Don't ask to see my work one. So before going into what you're building in the hackathon, I think it's very distinctly clear understanding the differences between AI. I've been working in this space for over like 10 years. At the time, 1 to 2%, I would say, were even noticing chats in that mechanism. Now going into 2026 and 2025, generative AI has like essentially surpassed search. I started in SEO, so I did see the level of that direction. So I wanted to kind of, when you guys are presenting this value or scaling it, understanding what these three areas mean are quite apparent. So with predictive, I think everyone's hearing the name predictive AI, but I think an example of this, just to be clear, and everyone knows, users see recommended because you've watched Orange is the New Black. If you ever see a site where it's like recommended these articles, that is predictive AIs. It's looking at that historical data. So when you're actually looking at building an application, if you have that technical acumen and knowledge of getting those insights and intel, predictive insights are great in that lever. I will say that this is when a user typically needs that evidence and insights. They're really just looking at, I want to look at my like history of all this activity and then get a summarized data input to justify that need. So that's when using predictive AI is the best. Generative AI, I think everyone knows this one by now. It's in everyone's mouth when it comes to product. But the key thing I want you guys to recognize with generative AI, why you're introducing generative AI. You're not just trying to put chat in an application. There are many forms and different habits. You can generate an image analyzer. You can essentially get content recommendations. You can enter chat. So a great example of this is if you don't know, this application, it's great. It's Chat PRD. It actually helps you accelerate PRDs, and especially in the case when you're in a bunch of meetings. It basically creates a templatized output value. So when you're thinking about creating a chat, don't just think about creating an insert. What is that desired output? And that's why in day one and also day two, understanding your audience and understanding your persona is key because what is that desired outcome that they're trying to have? So I don't want you guys to just think about, I'm just going to insert chat. What does this actually mean? So guys, get creative when it comes to this. So that is the one around the generative and the agentic. I am adding this as a lever from a hackathon perspective. I will be honest, and I've seen this in the past. I wouldn't recommend going the agentic route. However, I would say that it could be seen as a V1 and V2. So essentially, it is basically a goal. What is that user trying to get to? So you could be using generative AI, but there needs to be a next step to take that action. Even like 12, 15 years ago, agentic actually carries a lot of similar like tunes to what marketing automation used to be, essentially creating a funnel, going through a desired action and creating that certain outcome. And depending on that persona, going through that action. This could be in the back end seen as funnel setups. The user then sees the action of creating that and going through that flow. With that in mind, an example of that is Microsoft Copilot. They actually go through the entire experience, not just being like, okay, this is just chat. We're then going to apply this to an Excel document. We're going to apply this knowledge and set insight. And you could introduce human or non-human characteristics depending on certain use cases and personas. But this is great as if you realize there's more people that are trying to get through a desired goal, agentic is one of the better ways of kind of getting there. So choosing the right model. It is now in 2026, I'm going to be very clear with you guys. ChatGPT is not the only model out there. You guys should be using other models. And choosing the right model is a great exercise. Note, this is a subset of models. There is a huger set that I could have shown. As far as what you guys should be doing in the hackathon, the default model is definitely the safe option when it comes to that because they've done a lot of testing. But as you kind of build out your platform, literally in any decision, whether it's a stakeholder, whether you're investing, they're going to want to understand what model you're choosing and why. What is the persona resonating towards? So essentially just giving that overview is quite key here. So when you're doing the model selection, keep in mind when you're scaling, if you share this insight, that is going to be quite critical. Another thing to keep in mind, one model is not going to be fitting all in this situation. There are other applications that you could choose multi-model sets. So my recommendation is choosing default, but knowing you should have this understanding as you start to scale. If you change, this is what's going to really give insights and intel, especially with like the tokens. I don't think users realize there are higher reasoning models. Things to look out for too is like loading states. Depending on as you create a higher reasoning model, it means it's slower. We're not dealing with this 3 to 5 second threshold anymore. We're actually dealing with more, in some cases, over a minute long. That is not the same trajectory that we used to have. So as you scale, understanding those technical capabilities. I'm just sharing these two things as the first because I think everyone is like, let's just do chat. Let's just choose the default model. I want you guys to strategically look at what does the persona want? So when you're even interviewing users being like, what models have you been using recently? These are user interview questions that I've typically asked, and it's actually helped build assessments and things like that to determine which one is the best to reach that desired output value.
We make the the chart like slightly bigger?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, let me,
Would you guys all want to see the chart bigger? I don't
yeah, I can, here you go.
Yeah. Whoa, there we go.
Yeah, sorry.
No worries, no worries, no worries. I don't know. Was it just me or like
No, I'm happy to like show it like closer here. No, that's why feedback is given. Yeah, it's
yeah.
fine.
Because I had like two people like send me a DM. But yeah.
Yeah,
Anyways,
no
by all
worries.
means, continue on, continue on, continue on.
Yeah, no
What?
worries. Uh,
One second here.
I'm happy to go more into like the managing. Sorry, I also think in all fairness, I might have nope, no, I didn't. I did have it zoomed out, so I was wondering if that was the case. So
Gotcha.
Happy to also share this with you guys in a closer view after the chat, if you want to just see them directly in closer view. So, um,
Choose
I
a model. Which which model is your favorite model out of all these?
Um, that is a question that you're going to be asked in a PM interview. And I would say, depending on the product I use, it's what the persona resonates with the most. I typically like to work with models that my users like to work with. That's just me in the PM side. So the ones that I have been resonating with looking at this list, I have actually been interested in because I worked a lot within higher reasoning, the GPT-5. I've done a lot of science, like in the past when I was working at site. We did some higher reasoning models, and the output factors that they were giving were such at a high level. And then I kind of use Gemini personally. I've been optimizing a lot of my brand content that way. So it's really key is that like one model isn't going to work for every use case. You have to really justify, okay, in this situation, my pain point is trying to create images. I will have to be honest, GPT has been so slow, especially last month. It's been in code red. I wouldn't even touch that thing. That task could have taken 3 hours to generate an image. With Nano, it took me less than 5 minutes. So understanding that gauge, I think, is key. There's always a new model coming out, so I always have the tendency to look at that. So I think that is ultimately some of the things, and also to keep in mind as you're releasing new features. Also, one thing I will add with the models, things will scale with the models, especially the current one you're using. As you scale your product, you might want to think about legacy models as part of that practice. Being able to be like, if there is an archive of that model, I am only saying this because as models keep rapidly going, what is going to happen with that previous content? So just to give an overview, like there, I thought I would give you a little bit of insights of where I think models are shaping out at this point. I think users will see more insights into like the legacy and that information. I'm already seeing it with the higher end models that
Mhm.
are creating them. I think that is going to be something that you guys might want to keep in mind as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've actually personally I like to start off with kind of like my own personal hack is I like to start off with DeepSeek.
Yeah.
Uh just to like say like I want you to create a prompt to help me draft like 10 emails, right? And then I would
Yeah.
take the prompt that DeepSeek creates and then I would plug in that prompt to like Claude or like ChatGPT. That's like kind of like a hack that I use.
I also will say Gemini is great for creating content.
Yeah.
That is, and then Claude, which I'll talk about in a little bit. I actually use that for vibe coding prompting.
Mhm.
I think they're very good at at that lever. So I think it's when it's hard for me to pick one because I don't think we're in the day and age anymore where you could just pick one. And it's maybe 2 years ago I could have said ChatGPT, but it's just not the same. Um, yeah, space. And like as like AI product manager, you should be operating in that sense as well. So thanks for the question. I appreciate that.
MVP for vibe coding.
Yeah. So the reason why I'm coming up with the MVP for vibe coding is you guys will then start to create your product. If you don't actually create levers into what you're actually coming out to build, your prompt is not going to go into the right direction. Here are just some patterns I've noticed. You're seeing a lot of wormholes when it comes to the user actions that need to be made. Essentially, you don't know that demo path. And if you're not getting there and you understand that criteria, when you're finally getting into the prompting stage, where I actually think like the prompting is considered as a spec, personally, um, you're going to not get the desired outcome you want when you're building this. So when I was talking about day one, niche, problem statement, persona, this all falls into that area. So really having core criteria around here is quite key. Um, and then I'm going to go into like what are things that you shouldn't include. Um, Multiple personas. Don't try chasing over multiple areas. What's going to end up happening is you're going to stretch your product too thin and you're not going to know what the product is. Don't chase over like a million different use cases. Try to keep it concrete and simple, one goal, one action. So I'm actually going to share you two examples of where I actually walked away from one of them during a hackathon and the one I continue to do. And then I'll do fridge to fork. So let me see. So this was the first product I was actually going for as the initiative. The idea was the reason behind it, I had the most frequency of posts around this area. But as I was building it out, there was a couple of things that I was realizing when I built this demo and I built this initial like prompt. I was like, this is just not working out and why I completely walked away. One was the fact that there is a lot of friction within this product. The user actually has to be attainable for managing weight goals, managing shelf life, doing a grocery list. This was a lot of steps happening. And I was quickly realizing that this platform would be very challenging in order to scale. I needed integrations, I needed those levers. Additional one that I realized too is a key part is like I actually was working with a family and that was actually causing friction within the onboarding. So I was actually prompting this for around maybe an hour and a half. And I was looking at this and I was trying to actually explain it, which is why I mentioned the marketing thing. I was like, this isn't making any sense. So what I ended up doing instead is I built this, funny enough, 30 minutes before the demo I actually was doing with the hackathon with Rich. I realized I was like, I have to make this simple. I'm going to annotate that I have been building this up a little bit more. But when I built my MVP, I was like, I want the user to be able to upload a question, see a simplified view, and be able to view the results. So essentially, the user would see a dropdown, custom question, upload, and then see the results right here. So what I ended up happening here is that I was able to derive a clearer outcome and insight into this because I couldn't even get in the other product how to even get to those other tools. So that's why I actually wanted to share this with you guys because when I was explaining showcasing 1 to 2, if you're starting to feel like this is getting too complicated for the user, I have to add a lot more technical constraints, really revisit and say, maybe I shouldn't invest my time. And that's why vibe coding is amazing. It will allow you to quickly fail. And instead of actually going through these like applications where you have to work with an engineer, you have to work with UX, you can quickly validate whether or not something is going into the right direction. So figured I'd share that with you guys. And then when it came to building, I actually am starting to build an MVP from scratch. I actually came into the new year with realizing I think a key market that's missing is the ability to actually help people create goals. I realized around 64% are quitting on their goals in the first month. With my background, I thought it would be a unique way to kind of deliver that insight. So I actually wanted to start building this product. But I now have the MVP. So I did a level of what's the problem statement, which all of you guys I've given you insight. What's the persona? What is the outcome that they're trying to get to? What is that core flow? This is going to be important, and I'll tell you a little bit more. Core flow is like the key steps. And note, I know MVPs are a little bit longer when it comes to deriving them. I like to just have a high level view of like, this is what I'm looking at when I'm building this. Because when you're starting to prompt, you'll start to group things and how they should be categorized. What kind of AI features you want, the output, and not in scope. I actually, in some cases, have actually shown this to like some of my prospective employers and then automatically have converted into next rounds, just showcasing what was that process, what I was thinking about in that stage. Um, because if you don't do that, then it will lead you to have a product experience that is not attainable. So I wanted to actually show you guys an example of one. Let me see, sorry, that is a bad example. Build an AI product for millennial couples to achieve their goals together. The core outcome that I actually was working on is just add goal and category and date. But as you see this is a very broad goal. You do not know the direction of this prompt. So I want to actually showcase what this is actually looking like in the experience. Let me show. As you see here, it is a web page. It is giving you a high level overview. I'm going to note something here. As part of your hackathon, I would stray away from the web component unless your product is like actual digital product, because you're now seeing all of these different functionality. None of it is clickable. And essentially, it's not really going after what I'm trying to attain here. And the one thing to note is as you start to do something more broad, you'll have a lot more steps and a lot more things to look at. So a key thing here is like try not to be too broad. Otherwise, it's going to guess what you want, and that's not the outcome that you want to achieve here. I then did a second one where I tried to add a little bit more. I added the first line, but then I added some goals, but no, I added a lot of steps, a lot of actions. So what happens when you do that? I am going to show you Emriel. You are going to experience a lot of gaps. So let's see if this loads.
Kylie, while we're waiting for that to load,
Yeah,
so I think one of the core questions that people have been having is also you help secure multiple product manager offers like
yeah.
through this like hackathon, definitely side projects, and there's been so many people that's actually done the same. At what point of the interview, I'm asking because people are not asking, but there are people that have wondered, at what point of the interview do you whip this thing out? Like, how do you set up the transition of like, hey, let me show you this so that you can impress them?
Yeah, so honestly, whenever someone piques their interest, I actually don't even have to show it. I just say it. The first conversation minute and being like, "Oh, what are you up to this week?" "Oh, I'm like actually working on some side projects." It piques their interest.
Right.
So automatically I am getting their hook in to be like, I am working in a space that really matters right now. Then, depending, sometimes I actually have shared it in the interview itself if they're interested in it. I sometimes actually have that saved on my share on like on my desktop where I could then be like, "Oh, do you want to take a look at it?" Be like, "Sure." And then they give feedback. And then I give them the thank you note that I mentioned yesterday. And then essentially give actually some user I like looked at their user feedback and actually updated it. So I wanted them to recognize that like I am like listening to them and taking their feedback. So I've done it in a pretty organic way. Some of them have explicitly told me, "Hey, can I see this after?" That's when I definitely send an email or send a LinkedIn request, thanking them for the invite and kind of sharing those details. You should always be communicating that you're doing things beyond your job or if you're in the middle of trying to find something else. So figured, yeah, Rich, that's kind of how I've like,
That's very cool because one of the things when I was in recruiting is the mention of any side project has always piqued hiring managers' interest, regardless of what tech role, because they're always looking to see something that you've worked on. When we were trained as recruiters to help coach candidates before going on what we call client side, but it was is essentially an in-person interview, pre-COVID days, right? Is that every person that goes on Shark Tank to present a food idea, these are my grandma's cookies. Like, getting the sharks to eat your cookies is like, oh yeah, it's like it puts them in a better mood or like, cake or whatever, right?
yep.
Yeah, have that side project bookmark ready to go, ready to show. But yeah, I wanted to throw that out there because you said like I think that's one of the key things is hiring managers are impressed, and a lot of times people work on it and they actually don't show it. Like, hearing that from you, I think is helpful versus hearing it from me is let them know you're working on side projects and get ready to go out there and present this information.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be something so formal. It could be really
Yeah.
casual. Be like, "Oh, what did you do this weekend?" I was like, "Oh, I was working on X." So, yeah, thanks for that. Now I did want to get back on track. This is the second prompt. Note I gave it some goals and like some core actions to take. But this is what happens when you start to build too big. There are going to be gaps in your product. And I've built so many vibe coding platforms, and I think also these tools are getting better at it. Less is more in this saying, and there was too much in this situation. So what ends up happening is I was starting to look through the product. I was like, oh, there is this workflow is broken. There's no error handling involved. So I think the key thing when you're building these out, try to commit to one core action. So I wanted to show you some bad examples so you can learn from kind of this situation and kind of learn to update it. So I am going to go through the rubrics that I kind of carry. And this is after you kind of made an idea of your MVP. The reason I am going to show you this explicit section, the core flow, I actually signal these as their own unique prompts for each stage. And no, there can also be a prompt on the UX look and feel and the data infrastructure. But as a rule of thumb, I have used these kind of themes as a way to focus on that. And the reason being is that you are focusing on a clear state. You're not doing multi-states. You're not looking at multiple flows. As you add another page or add another action, it then gets harder to actually build things and do the math together. So wanted to say that is kind of the key here and why that's like, and so when you're looking at your non-in scope, you're like, what are you not focused on? Like, I don't want to focus on like a marketing website. I just need to get this clear demo action because unless the product is working, why like introduce that marketing website in that capability? Um, so when I look at the prompting format, I actually look at these quadrants. Note, you do not have to look at every quadrant. I just look at these as levels as assessment of how I kind of build out a certain section. So what is that persona? What is that workflow? What is that user moment that's signaling to them, being like, hey, I've reached that. What is kind of that insight first? What are the inputs required to make that happen? AI and generation like constraints, these ones can be explicit for when you're building the like any generative AI or AI components. I like to use this category as a way of classifying because if you don't control what is the scoring criteria, what is the output that you want to gauge. You'll see that as a lever. What is the data in the back end? Are you looking to capture dates? Are you user information? How is that getting secured? Data from a product level. I'm going to note one thing about this one. I would say until you feel pretty secure about the product, don't worry about this one as much. Maybe introduce a North Star metric that you can track and follow. But if you plan on changing the product as much, I wouldn't really focus on this. Error handling, I think we all know that. And just overall toning, success, out of scope, and look and feel. Look and feel, I will say this just as two words, you don't need to be a UX expert. You can actually introduce essentially, I like my persona is using these alternatives. I want the look to feel to look like X. I want actually lovable to actually predict this design. There are ways you can gauge this in order to do this. You can do it on a component level or a widespread level, but just figured I'd give you like an overview of some of that criteria that I look at. And note, not all of this is required. Um, I then, when I create a prompt, I want to create one clear state. So in looking back here, I'm actually just going to focus on adding a goal. I just want that first form page. I don't want to create any actions. I essentially just want to see that page, see that look and feel. If I go into the other steps, then I'm then going to have to over prompt or see those different workflows. My outcome is I want to see that page and make sure it's in that right branding direction. So I've used Gemini, I've used Claude in this, but what I've done is I've entered the workflow, I've attached the MVP, and then I want it to not write my prompt for vibe coding. I actually want it to ask me questions. I want it to reinforce this is the action, this is what I'm doing in this step, reinforcing what I have to do. It will then send you a subset of questions and then essentially come up with this prompt. So being able to see a high level of kind of that prompt. And no, it's very similar to what I alluded to up here. It's not this one sentence. There is more inputs here. Essentially, the user is understanding when an individual wants a life goal, like that's a contact. So that's a branding direction. AI responsibility. I'm not doing AI at the moment because I want to actually see what this looks like before I like bring that to life. And I do an output display structure. When I am then creating this, I am then creating the actual product. And no, I actually focused on the non-login state because I actually wanted to see what this looked like. So I wanted the user to enter a goal, participate in High Rocks. I'm doing this as a couple. Yeah. And then having an aim for that. So I wanted to be able to just study this area. And one thing I noted is I needed that hook in my statement, which I entered in my prompt. So I wanted to actually activate the goal and why. So using the stat, pulling that insight through the analysis, we were able to create this. So previously you saw more of a website experience. Now you're seeing one core action. So I wanted to get this look and feel right. So having the ability to look at this, once I felt confident in this, there's some things I would acknowledge. One, I'd probably use AI to actually update the goal, have this one more open, and then do more of a date form. So instead of doing 5 other workflows where it's like, I'm working on handling, I'm working on the create plan, I am just working on one step at a time. And if you do that and then you optimize those elements, the cool thing about these vibe coding platforms, you can actually call them out pretty explicitly, and the code is also pretty easy to find. So wanted to just give you a lever of don't feel like you have to do everything all take it one step at a time, optimize, and go to the next step. And then one thing to note is that you should categorize what the name of these pages are. When I've actually introduced that into my prompts, optimizing them, I saw a higher yield in that prompt being improved because it's not guessing where it is. I'm actually calling that out. So yeah, that is just overall some of those. Yeah. So that is all I had. Rich, do you have anything to add?
No, let's go ahead and get to the questions because like tomorrow is demo day, folks. Tomorrow is demo day. So what do we got? Let's see here. David said chat is currently disabled. Well, we took care of that problem. Tarun, I had to vibe code. I had started vibe coded. I had started to vibe code and definitely would need some feedback.
Yeah,
Tarun, show us. We
yeah,
are very much looking forward to what is it you have to say.
yeah. Hey,
Hello.
Hey.
hey.
Yeah. So basically, I have started to wipe code the project which I talked about yesterday. Thanks for again all this. I think this make more sense, and I learned like what improvements could have been made. But so far, I have something tangible to show. Maybe I can demo and
Yeah.
yeah, gather your feedback and thoughts. So how would I do it? I have it published as a level, so I can share the URL or share my
So
screen,
you can share your
whichever way.
screen if you wanted to. Does
Okay.
he have that access, Rich? I don't know.
Yeah, he has it. Hang on. I think you were almost there. Give me a second. Uh, were you able you were up, but I just didn't see it. Like, were you able to try to share it again?
Uh,
Or do I have to promote you to panelists?
No, I don't see an
Okay.
option.
I think he
Try
has
it
been
now.
promoted. Congrats.
I promoted you to panelist, so you should be able to share it now, if anything.
It's grayed out. It just showed me stay as attendee.
Uh,
Or maybe I can, I don't
If
know.
if you
I'll
send the
share the
shareable
link.
link in the tech in the
Yeah,
chat,
yeah.
that I will note something about like Lovable and these other vibe coding. You can share
Um,
things that doesn't have to be public, but those links expire in 7 days. So just keep that
um,
in mind, and that's why videos are important. I figured I'd add that to it.
okay. So I might, I don't know. So I need to make a video earlier then because I think I just recently signed up. I
Yeah,
think
no,
four
you can
days.
still access it. I'm just annotating to everyone on the call, like if you share a link of your Lovable from that format and it's not published. Let me see.
okay. Auto AI advisor.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can. That's
I mean, I
okay.
haven't.
I actually,
Did you get it, Kylie?
yeah, I have it up.
Okay. Yeah.
I can share it. But Tarun, if you want to just guide me into like if you want to give an
Sure.
overview and what
Yeah, yeah,
steps. Yeah,
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, so basically, this idea is for like to buy a car. It's just like a AI assist for someone who wants to buy a car, and it basically goes on to their options. First of all, it goes with budget, and then if you go next, scroll up, and then yeah, you can just first, no, that's the browse. That's a different tab. I think I'm just adding on more, which I just told you earlier that, maybe I just stuck to the one plan, which is the first tab.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, we have like four like different criteria here. It asks you to prompt like multiple options. First is like the budget, obviously, like what's the budget are you looking for in your car? And then if you click on continue, yeah, continue in the below, and then it asks you like now more, and then the like criteria is like why are you like purchasing, and this is for a daily commute or family, off-road, performance related, you want a luxury, comfort, which are your priorities as such. So You can select any of those, the
Let's
primary one.
what I'm
Uh,
gonna do. I'm gonna do luxury. Why not?
Okay,
I'll do
okay.
that.
And then, so after you select, and then it further asks you within those, like, what are your priorities within those? So you can select, okay, if you're luxury and comfort, that should be at the top. Think, yeah.
Yeah. I
And then you can just like prioritize any other thing,
yeah.
whichever you want.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, yeah, that's like, I ran out of credits. So, but I wanted to make this UI much meaningful because this is a drag and drop instead of this arrows kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Uh,
the idea
let's say
is,
these are my rankings. I'll
yeah,
continue.
so you continue. And then you, if you have any additional preferences, like in terms of passengers, you requires like a all-wheel drive or like, electric, or any looking for an electric only cars, or just give me everything.
Mhm.
So yeah,
And then it
and
gives you
then just get recommendations. So the top three will give you the recommendations from the AI, which is like RAV4 Prime based on your budget, which you selected very earlier, Highlander Hybrid, and then the remaining ones are below. Um, So you can now, if you click on view details for each one, so this is like 23, and then yeah, specs, sales, what it costs, like cost to like, you know, depreciation cost, 5 year cost, all those kind of details are coming. Um, so that's like a give you like, so the top three would be at the very first, and then if you're not satisfied, you can obviously keep on going, see multiple options below. um, yeah. And then once you're like finalized, you can compare as well. So if you want to compare, um, let's say if you want to see, um, pick anything, view details, and then yeah, compare. Yeah. So if you chosen two, now it will compare Toyota RAV4 Prime and Highlander. It's basically comparing based on each of those variables. And then it bottom is saying, okay, Toyota RAV4 to Toyota Highlander, RAV4 Prime edges ahead, um, based on those criteria. So that's the only idea. Just basically just give them, that decision. Um, Top three choices, and then if they want to compare, they can compare, then get ahead. And then later on, I just built upon like the other tabs, which is like if you want to browse more vehicles, if you have in car and but you wanted to like finalize trims, which trims are there, so the other options are there. So if you can click on cross
cross.
here, yeah, the very top is
You
cross
want me
here.
to take this off?
Yeah, you can
Go
clear
next.
all across, yeah. And then if you go up, yeah, so you have like compare options, which is already there. And this is a trim which I'm talking of. If you already have a car in mind, you can just like go ahead, select, select the model, and then year, and then it just talks about the trims, various trims for those. So for this particular one, you have like, yeah, base, premium, exclusive, pinnacle, AMG, all those. And I think you can still compare. Um, yeah.
Okay. Thank you for this is a lot that you've done, and that is. Can I ask one question on this? What persona are you trying to go after? Is this someone who knows car buying? Are they single? Do they have a family? Did you like
So
explore
in
that?
general, that's why I was asking, like, I asked like, from my recent experience as well as like someone who's like recently buying, I just ask questions because user interviews are the best one, right? So I just asked like, and everyone was like, firstly, budget. The first thing which comes to their mind is
Mhm.
like budget. And so that was like my very first, like, uh, point of entry. When you click on Auto AI Advisor, yeah,
Yeah.
just select the budget. And then from there on, I like asked, like, okay, what else are you looking for? So it was like when I was single, I was like mostly looking for reliability car or like fuel efficient car. When I got family, then I moved to like more family oriented car, like an SUV or something. And for someone who's like now, maybe I want to switch it up, so I'm looking into more luxurious cars. So that's where I got all the other criteria. Like, okay, why is it buying for like daily commute, family use, off-road adventure? And these are like I just uh, got some more categories using AI again. So that was the next one. And then finally is like again, like, okay, even though I have like my like say okay fuel efficient, but even within fuel efficient there will be like multiple brands and cars that offers those categories. And what are you going for? So for example, reliability, Toyota is probably coming mostly on safety reliability. If you're looking for luxury and comfort, yeah, obviously the German cars or something that will come up. So I forgot that time the electrical, so I just added as a separate section, although I should have like probably included in here. Um, but yeah, so those were the questions, and yeah, that came to my mind, and I just like plugged in here. So I myself come from automotive background, so that's why ended up adding more and more features, comparisons, like year to
Yeah.
cost, because I have see. Um, yeah, but purely coming, I think the first step would be the purely one, which was my MVP, I would say, based on today's lecture, what you want to buy. The others, comparison, trims, browse, all those came, like I just added, okay, why not? Yeah, if you have already something in mind, if you want to compare the trims, like which one should I go for? Just maybe just compare the prices. Hey, I have a car in mind, but they have like four trims. Which one should I go for? Then that's
So
where it is.
one of the things I do want to call out to you is that you might want to explore like a certain user. Like one that I'm actually thinking about automatically is people who are quite active. Those kind of users could potentially be like, I need a car that can go off terrain. I need ones that like can handle heavy durability. What I do see here in your persona is that I'm getting a sense that they don't know what to buy, but I don't have much more insights, which is why I can see all these other levers starting to add where it's like family use. You could also go the family route where it's like car seats matter, the safety regulations, like prioritizing those needs. Um, you might want to look at that direction. Uh, that would be my advice. And if this is your core action too, to actually, first of all, create this action, I actually naturally, from a carousel perspective, this is actually seen as a step. I actually naturally thought those connected. If this is not the prime action, I would actually try to disable all of these, actually maybe remove them and just show this on the first page so the user is forced to get that like get that recommended value and see those insights. Because if like you look back and you're like, is my desired outcome to have them browsing all the pages, or is it to get those recommendations which then drive the ability to then buy that car? um Maybe just figure out that step, and depending on that, you might want to maybe hold off on this feature or just show the browsing page and focus on that. That would kind of be my sense. Is anyone else in the comments have any other feedback? It's also good to like get inputs there.
No, yeah, I totally understand. And that's what I like actually learned when you said about like MVP today, like, stick a user to an action, which was like my primary first step. And I should have just built that and refined more. And I just like went on ahead and then I thought, hey, maybe I can add this, add this, add this. Um, so yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah.
I could tell you my first one had a ton of things and then a lot of it was breaking. That's how we all start. Ground zero
Yeah.
is like learning. So going away, like everyone starts at this. As long as you're like applying yourself and you're learning that knowledge, that's what matters. So we've all been there. Yeah.
Yeah, so I got something to share about this one. So everything that Kylie said, absolutely 100% echo into it. Your future iterations for your product, I would highly recommend for you to start doing different variations of it. So I dropped a link in the chat here called Wizard. So Wizard's cool because you can actually start playing around with different lo-fi experiences. And what it can do is really separate you from a lot of the generative stuff because some people will create generative apps and they all look alike. But
Yeah.
if you take the extra effort just to polish it up a little bit more, it really separates it. It actually does show like, oh, okay, cool. This person not only figured out who they're building this for. They also looked at how the experience is. And doing it through Wizard is a really easy way of doing it. Somebody had pinged me on LinkedIn about like, hey, what do I currently use? Like this is one of the tools that I use for a lot of the prototypes and a lot of the Imagine a World presentations that I do at work. This is one of my favorite tools.
Right.
Yeah, I
Thank you
appreciate
so
that.
much. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's also important when I was also mentioning like the competitors and the alternatives, like what are your competitors using? That also allows you to get a unique look and feel because these tools do have a generic UX. I think the important thing is like you are trying to get the function, but as you kind of elevate and differentiate yourself, understanding your persona more will allow you to be like, okay, if they're more in the active range, maybe the green is more of their quadrant level. So yeah. Thanks for that, Dave. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay, next question that we actually have is so we got a little bit of time to go out there and wrap it up, but what limitation from Nelson? What limitations did you run into using Lovable for your conversational AI interview product?
Limitations I already knew from because I failed at an earlier product which I talked about was like job scraping, and those were huge limitations. When I was trying to use a crawler, first of all, Fire Crawler is like which is compatible with Lovable, which was automatically suggested by Lovable. Uh, it's paid version, so it's not free. Then I went for some free versions, and those free versions were not giving me sites which are like popular. I wasn't able to do scraping from like say LinkedIn, Indeed, Glassdoor, or anything. It was just going some weird remote jobs website, which is like completely free and probably no one goes there. So I thought that's not a good thing to build and invest my time in doing more stuff. So that was like one limitation immediately, which I find out in terms of like when I'm
I think the
gathering the
question was
data.
actually for, sorry to cut you off, but I think the question was for Kylie. It was what limitations did you run into your Lovable for your conversational AI interview product, the Chosen?
Yeah, that
Okay.
is an interesting question. What limitations? I will say one is this is just from what I'm seeing in Lovable. I think Lovable is good as a V0, not as a V1. And the key reason is they actually don't have a true testing environment. So I have to like upload everything and hope it goes. And as any PM knows, if you don't have a QA environment, things might not work as expected. So that is something I would say is a bit of a concern from like a Lovable standpoint. I will say one thing I did notice them doing is, and I think they've gotten better at this, is actually breaking up some of the quadrants of work. I think they're better at calling out these areas. So that is something also publishing security. That I would say is an area that needs so much love. You publish something and it essentially says there's a security issue, and then you have to go take 4 steps in order to fix it. And it's the documentation is not up to par. And if I can show you that, it's review security. So I don't have any issues right now, but in some cases, a issue can come up. This is anything like PII, just giving you examples. They give you a task, but then it's not very clear, and sometimes they make you use your credits. Um, these are things that I think they could like reinforce and fix a little bit better on that end. Um, and then I will share one thing around the product itself. I'm actually working on a talking points exercise. My mission is to actually help interviewers not use AI as a crutch to get the interview, but to really prepare and give those insights. So one of the things I'm working on is like talking points. Initially, I was going to come out with a video script, but when I looked back at my mission and essentially was like, I don't want to give them a video script because that is exactly what people are doing. AI detection, just to let you guys know, companies are getting smarter at that. They're getting AI detection now. So even when you look at their eyes, they do that evaluation. That is what some companies are doing at this point in time. So I'm working on a PRD right now on that, which I'm pretty excited about, which is like projects and those areas. So when it comes to like the limitations and stuff like that, look at the release notes, see what's happening. And if you're really trying to work with Lovable, just really understand some of those limitations there. The thing that let me see if I actually have this one. I don't have my day one models, but one of them that I am reviewing at this point, they have a multi-model experience with different attributions. That is something that I'm actually interested in because I don't feel like some of the models are going to fit all in every solution. So I am looking at that as an option. So those are just some of the key takeaways that like I'm taking with Lovable, but I know they're scaling. But I do feel like that it is largely a B2C product, not a B2B. So those are just some of the takeaways I've been like grasping with. Yeah.
Yeah. One more thing I want to go out there and actually add limitations. If you guys are actually trying to monetize a product off of Lovable, you really don't want to go ahead and add your like Stripe's actually announced this on their website. You don't want to add a Stripe API in there. There's a lot of cybersecurity. There's a lot of security implications. So I think, like Kylie said, if you're just looking to go ahead and just kind of build some shit on your own, get like a visual, I think it's actually great. But if you want to take it to like the next level up and beyond that, not so much. Um, yeah, I don't know if you guys remember just a few months ago that T app where people would go on there and talk about guys. Yeah, that didn't end up well for the dude. Uh but let's see here. Next question. We actually have a few more. Does the prompt output after each theme, or do you define all the prompts for each theme, then run the output in one go?
I do not do it in one go because if I did them all in one go, first of all of these vibing codes actually are limiting you now to do that. So they're trying to say, don't overload our system with all of this. It's actually forcing them to be like, hey, we're going to make mistakes. So as I created each of those themes, the core actions, and I can go back to I will share my screen again because let me see. I'm going to go back. I will go up. What I do essentially is I break these up into each core prompt. I worked on this one because this wasn't as important since the outcome for this insight. I actually wanted to share something and showing the login page, just wanted to make this a little bit more straightforward. So each area is actually considered its like own prompt, like an own focus area. So when we focus on that, we're then like, okay, this is what the arrow handling is look like here. As you then start to build, then categorize. And when you get the naming of those conventions, which let me see, they come up with practice, results, library, and profile. Essentially start to catalog those and then have a category on dependencies as well. Because then you can see that intertwine of like, okay, when I'm performing this action, making sure this area is updated within that product. As long as you take those notes, that's why it's key to essentially follow up with those. Like I actually do the dependencies like post just to initially see it, to see if it's in the right direction. Sometimes I actually reprompt it if it's not in the right shape that it's intended to be, like modifying it a bit. So I would definitely separate it out. Otherwise, you are going to get a lot of areas in your product where essentially you'll hit a certain point and it will break. It won't go as in the desired action. So focusing on one step at a time, I would say, is is pretty it's pretty key. And that way you're not like missing anything. Yeah.
Next question. Okay, for Tarun, how did you go about getting the database together? Were you able to connect to an API, to a dealership, or create the database manually?
No, so I created those manually first. So basically, is I had like a Google Sheet which has connected to it, and that Google Sheet is basically I took the data manually because it's like so much data in here. Uh, but I started like iteratively. So I first used like newer data, which is like 20 to 25, and just give me like top 25 brands, and per brand at least give me 10 models if they have. If less, it's fine, but give it max that many uh that many cars. So and it came out to be like only 1,200 or something, total number of rows. So I said maybe I can expand it more because it's not that much data. So I ended up then from 2020 to 2025. It's so 20 instead of that one, I expanded from 2010 to 2025. So like 15 years of 25 brands, which are the most popular in US, and um, at least max of 10 models per brand. So yeah. And then later on added the trims as well. But I was able to fetch all that data like from Claude. I used Claude for this. They gave me like in a CSV format all that data, and then just I added that into Google Sheets and used Annotate um, to configure and then connect to my livable app.
You know, Tarun, that was freaking awesome. Like, did you make a YouTube video of this? Like,
No, I just spent most of the time researching and building. I didn't
no,
do
you
any.
you should actually
Good.
document it because
Yeah.
that whole 0 to 1 journey that gets people jobs because that allows hiring managers to see that you've actually, that whole process. I think David could talk a lot about this too, of like running through walls, figuring that shit out, and like overcoming those obstacles. And then like you hit this wall and then you figure that out. That's really what they want to go ahead and see. Um, yeah, but I don't know if Kylie and David want to add anything to that.
No, I think you should definitely showcase it. Even just showing that you did the spreadsheet of that whole analysis, like people want to understand your product discovery process and how you got to that. That's actually showing how much investment you took into it. So that is definitely a good thing to share. Yeah.
All right. Sure. So I don't know, like if I have like probably I need to get video earlier because if I don't have access, I won't be able to. But I still probably just take screenshots even if I'm not able to like have video access later on. So yeah.
Got it. Is the UI very important for product understanding? I have made agentic AI models, but use Streamlit for showcasing it. Do I need to go the extra mile on the UI front? What do you think? What do our two esteemed alumni here that have landed jobs think? UI
I
doesn't matter?
So I actually have taken UX and UI classes, and I think it can make you dangerous. I'm actually thinking about investing in some again. I think understanding that is a good discipline. So coming from that, I think the reason why I said if you don't know UX, let the platform decide. That's when you have the persona and all of that information. They can get that intel to derive that answer. And even with that prompting exercise, force you to have those UX questions that you might not know if you don't have that knowledge. My advice, I think, as a PM, especially if vibe coding is a thing, I think it's worth investing in understanding at least the disciplines. What are those parameters? Even there's like accessibility, like overviews that a lot of UX and these applications are building as well. So understanding that is good. So yeah, that's my thoughts.
Yeah, on my end, I'm lucky enough to have a GI Bill. So I did my MBA, used my GI Bill for one of the top design thinking programs at USC. So the MSI DBT at the IYA. Literally my course load is half is design courses. And I'm not talking about like, oh, we're gonna go teach you how to become a UX designer, but rather how do you get through the process and understand
Yeah.
who it is that you're building for it and what is it that you're building for them that they want. And that is the basis of creative problem solving and design thinking, right? So did that, and then I'm partnering it up with because the program allows you to go to Viterbi, which is an engineering school. So literally half my courses are design thinking courses, a little bit of actual UX design through Figma, and then the other half was spending time at Viterbi Engineering School doing full stack development and AI. So literally this past semester, ended up bootstrapping a random forest AI model to actually get a better understanding of like how AI works, right? And the reason why I did it is because me having an MBA was great. I was able to talk about the marketing positioning and everything else. But when I got in front of principal level engineers, they didn't really quite understand what it is that I'm trying to do. And then I'm partnered up with a an associate product designer and they're struggling trying to communicate over. So I saw that gap, and then I went to USC to go actually fulfill that gap. So to echo what Kylie was saying, like absolutely learning UX, not so much on the design, but rather being able to talk about what it is that people are hurting and what do people want is so powerful when you're in those cross-functional meetings. And I would highly, highly, highly encourage any PM to go do it.
I am going to share a program that I did, and it's not an MBA program because I did not have budget when I was in so I actually did Design Lab. They have a UX and they have UI, and they also do some like prototyping too. So if people want to like understand UX, the UI principles, I've used that in the past and it's been pretty helpful. I actually think that made me a better product manager because I understood that functionality. So not everyone can get an MBA, but I just figured I'd give a shout out. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, David, do we want to go ahead and make that announcement? Uh,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
David
I
just
just
got
got
in.
into UCLA law, so I'm actually going to be focusing on tech law pretty soon. Not because I'm trying to go leave tech, but rather I know that AI is going to be disrupting the space so much
Yes,
that
it is.
product managers also need to understand what are the downstream effects of AI and being able to actually speak cogently, specifically to legal, because the amount of time that I spend with legal these days, because I've been touching AI tools, specifically empowering our backend through like I don't want to overshare, but doing some stuff that touches finances and everything else at my company, being able to actually communicate to legal is a big component for PMs to come as well. So, not trying to scare anybody off, but there are a lot of relevancies for us as a PM. And I think the big question really here is, well, if AI is coming and disrupting everything, are PMs safe? In my opinion, I think PMs is going to be the last set of tech jobs that's actually going to be disrupted if you are interdisciplinary. And I have to emphasize that interdisciplinary and being able to actually understand and do everything.
Yeah, I kind of agree with David too. I think our field is turning into more of a generalist. So I am using my marketing hat a little bit more than I used to. Doing, I am making low res mid fidelities. So tap into your strengths. Because I do, and the way AI is shaping, I think our roles are going to be blending a little bit. That's kind of my prediction. I agree with David on that. Um,
Yep.
Yeah, I think touching on what this baton just said right now is 100% UI is also very important, but getting back to the core objective of this hackathon was to build quickly to go out
yeah.
there and land like a product, like multiple product manager offers, right? And I've actually had one of the attendees here, Priyanka, asked like, I feel a little lost. And I'm like, well, you actually have to structure out your day to go out there and actually attack multiple things in a given day and doing a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here. Because there's so much going on in today's market. And I would say that's also one of the big changes is that product management pre 2022, they would just have you work on just one project or two projects, and you had a lot more team members and you had a bigger budget. Now you're working on all kinds of crap, and then they're like David said, this was not a thing. Just it wasn't that long ago where David he got into law school. I mean, I don't know where you find the time to sleep, bro, because
I don't. I don't. I'm trying to hustle out here. And that's the bigger secret is
yeah, I
can you
thought
hustle your way through?
but like I'm pretty sure he had to study for like law school, and it's cool. Like he makes it out to like every LA event that I host when I'm in LA. You got to be doing a little bit of this, a little bit of this. So like the UI is great, but and of course, the more you can show out there, the more skills is going to make you that much more. I don't just like not just a dangerous product manager, but also in demand product manager. But you don't want to spend all day like, oh, now I got to take a UI class before I go out there and apply another role.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to preface, I think it's a good thing to have in your arsenal. And also with the hackathon, this does not need to be pixel perfect. If there is something that is not in the right spot, not the right button type, it's at the end of the day, what is the key objective? So the UX, I think, prioritizes from a hackathon perspective, care about like like making sure the functions work, not about how they necessarily like look and feel. That
Yeah.
could be like down the road. And once you get users in, like user interviews, you can then be like, oh, they prefer X experience. So you're coming in more with more product intuition and use cases from that lens. And that's actually derived some of my direction with my chosen product. I've gotten some feedback around kind of the look and feel, which dictated some of that direction. So
Yeah.
Mm.
To add on to what Rich was saying earlier, so what I'm doing is not really meant for everybody. It just so happened that I'm lucky enough that I get to go to school for free and I get paid to go to school for free. But the thing is this, I'm trying my best to differentiate myself in a very competitive field. I already talked to I still talk to Rich even after graduating PG years ago about where I'm trying to take my career to the next level. And for me, I do this to differentiate. But the thing that matters more is that are you delivering product? Are you getting to somewhat product market fit? Do you understand what your users are? That's the thing that product manager interviews actually look at more than your pedigree. Like right now, I'm chasing pedigree because I'm already doing the the validation with actual customers, with actual startups, with other things I've been doing on the side besides school. So take the classes, learn a few things, and immediately implement. That's really the best advice that you can actually take from this. Don't do what I'm doing, just go do stuff.
Before we go, any other questions that we have tonight before we call it? Going once, going twice. Oh, I like got chicken in the air fryer because I have to hit the gym right after this. Okay, all right. Oh, one more thing. Hang on, let me see here. Was that a question? Oh, I may have missed this, but what do you recommend about monetization if not lovable? There is uh when you actually have the Stripe API in Lovable where people can actually make a purchase on Lovable, um, there was, I totally forgot, but they said don't actually implement it into a Lovable website yet. Like actually send them to another page or send them to a Stripe checkout page where they could essentially pay for it on a Stripe page instead of having it like on a Lovable landing page. Yeah. So,
I
anyways,
will say this, if you do transfer it over, make sure you set up a Git so you can transfer that over. Otherwise, you don't want to be creating it from scratch. I'm just making that little piece of advice there. Yeah.
yeah, it's actually, yeah, I mean, tomorrow's demo day, folks. So we're looking for demo for all of y'all. Let's get this on your resume because after that, if you guys have not scheduled the call yet, starting from next week, I mean, these calls have been like open up, but as of next week, it'll just be for the Product Gym fam only. Kylie, thank you so much for spending your time to going out there and actually you don't need to be here, but you're dedicating your time to go out there and do this. David, I don't know, I don't know how the hell I mean, you still have to take the LSAT, right, to get into UCLA Law?
Yeah, but that's a different conversation because I'm actually trying to do the non-JD track, which prevents me from taking the LSAT. Because again, not really trying to be a lawyer, trying to be more of a better technologist.
Okay. All right. With that said, thank you for always showing up, whether it's on a webinar or an LA. I don't know if you recall, but Priyanka, I'm gonna put you in a group chat. Priyanka here, who was at the last two LA events. David has made himself very, very, very helpful to all the product gym and well students out there in Los Angeles because the guy loves to teach. Like, by all means, reach out to him. But like, let's get after it. Tomorrow, like, still hit your 30 hiring managers a day on LinkedIn. Still go ahead and apply. Still go ahead and follow up. Like, I think Kylie just really dominated the numbers because this time around, compared to 2019, was legit work. It was like three times more the cardio.
It took me 30 minutes a day. Now I'd probably say daily it's like six hours. Just including not only applying, but the content, the hackathon, like building the vibe codes. It's not just about one thing anymore. It's just not how I just don't see that changing. Um,
the faster people decide to lock in instead of looking for the just lock in. um, yeah, but once you actually do, you get your remote AI role, right? Uh, I'm very pumped up to see everybody's demo and what everybody cooks up tomorrow. See you guys all on the hackathon. Tomorrow, the final day, which is going to be the demo day, and then we start going out there gunning for the job hard. Just let everybody know right here. I think everybody should be shown. We will have our whole James here has the Manus curriculum that will be for the product gym folks only. But Manus is going to be very big. He was just at my house earlier. We're fine tuning the curriculum. Kylie and David and Tarun, Steve, Priyank, so many of you, you get Nista, you guys are gonna be really pumped up, but they're already talking about Manus at Capital One. I've already because it, it's a hype thing, right? Like if Meta purchased it, it's like, okay, why did they purchase it? Should we be using it? How would we be able to go ahead and use it, right? Yeah, it is actually we can see Manus has been the most profitable AI agent tool that's out there. The meta strategy right now is purchasing revenue. And we actually got a chance to go out there and play with it today for 2 hours, and we've learned why. This will be a very hot side portfolio for you to be adding on. You don't want to go ahead and miss out on that. And those of y'all in the New York area, hit me up because we're throwing our happy hour next Thursday. If I'm going to be out in the cold, come see me. It's going to be by Grand Central. DM me on LinkedIn. Actually, no, I'll ping the thing here. See y'all there. And then Manus, Manus, Cursor is one considered to monetize your product. Cursor
yeah,
is going to be the next curriculum that we are dropping right after that. Cursor and Replit. Uh, so let's level up on the skills, people. But honestly, I'm going to say this in last. You could spend the next 6 months learning Cursor too. You gotta they
you
just
have
want to
to
see
put
variety.
something. Yeah.
They want to see variety, like a little bit of this, a little bit of this. So you don't have to think like you have to be like fluent in Italian where you can translate at like as a professional interpreter at the UN. Like enough, you
I
know.
I will say these tools after a while like I'll give an analogy like marketing automation. It's all the same. It does the same function. As long as you understand like what core functionality you need, that's not going to block you from monetizing or getting to that desired outcome. That is how like reviewing the tech stack. So understanding where it's going in the product. So who knows? Maybe in 6 months there's going to be another one that comes into the woodworks that will.
100%.
Yeah.
And any app that any tool right now, any application that you guys think is like not good right now, trust me, like they're gonna go back on the offensive. Last year, this time, a lot of people said Google was done. And right
Yeah.
now, and OpenAI was all the case. Right now, OpenAI, they've been on code red for like the last, they've been like, we're locked in, we're at war right now, we're being attacked. It's I'm very pumped up to see what they're about to drop. Yeah. Yeah. When your back's against the wall, that's when like the best stuff actually comes out. So anything that you guys think is like underwhelming, learn it all, dabble it in, but eventually it's kind of like all the same. All right. Thank you, everybody. Please thank Kylie, David, for their time. And then tomorrow, demo day. Let's see what you guys all cooked up. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.